But before we do that, I'd like to just finish with some of these really spectacular stories and the documents that were made public. And one was the relationship, the cozy, some people call it cozy, I call it fraudulent or corrupt, relationship between Monsanto and the EPA. So what were some of the smoking gun comments that, or I know there was a lot because the whole way that the EPA acted. I mean, for one thing, do you know the EPA does not require testing on the whole formulation of Roundup, just on glyphosate, even though no one actually is sprayed with glyphosate alone. And Monsanto submits evidence not on the glyphosate that's used in the herbicide, which is glyphosate salts, but on technical glyphosate, which is even safer, and still it showed problems. And they also don't evaluate low-dose effects. So they ignore 15 to 20 years of endocrine disruption information in the scientific literature, thinking falsely that the dose makes the poison. And there's a concept that the more of the dose, the bigger the problem will be, right? It makes sense. It should go up. But we realize that the actual curve for a class of poisons called endocrine disruptions is a U-curve. It's not intuitive, but at very, very tiny levels, it has a high impact. You increase the dose and the impact goes down. It goes down, it bottoms out, and then the dose makes the poison. And so the EPA conveniently lops off and ignores the low dose effects. And it's interesting, and I'll lead into the Jess Rowland thing and then pass it on to you. One of the documents that I love reading to groups is the letter from Marion Copley, who at the time had to leave the EPA because she was dying of cancer. And she wrote a letter to Jess Rowland, who was the head of the committee that was to make the determination if glyphosate causes cancer. And she said, for once in your life, do something right and stop trying to do things just to get a bigger bonus or to satisfy the requirements of the registrants, the companies that submit their data. And she said, your paltry MS degree from Nebraska is years old, you're not qualified, and here's 14 reasons why glyphosate should be considered a carcinogen, and it has all of these things. It should be declassified as a probable human carcinogen. And certainly the person you're working with, if anyone in the department is getting bribes, it's her, because what she says does not make sense. And then she finally said, I've done my duty, I've said what I needed to say, and I have cancer, and I wanted to make sure I said it before I died. And she then died, and she pleaded with Jess Rowland to do the right thing. Tell us about Jess Rowland.
Jess Rowland was a scientist within the EPA. Of course, when he was deposed, he claimed, faint memory, and he no longer knew what was going on when it was happening. But there were internal Monsanto documents that basically discussed what an advocate Rowland was, what a friend he was. They would communicate with him often. At one point, there was another subcommittee that's related to the EPA that was seriously looking at the link between Roundup and cancer, or glyphosate at least. And one of the internal documents said that they were talking with Jess Rowland, and he literally said, if I can kill this, I should get a medal. And he eventually did kill the other review that was going on with the other agencies.